How's it going? J Darko here. Got some fucking lighting in this motherfucker. J Darko here. We're gonna talk about singular focus. Alright, so when people talk about success, what's the number one thing they always attribute it to? Probably like a lack, like a huge surplus of willpower being used, being smart, resources, craftiness, charisma, and from my knowledge and just my estimation, whether it be practical or theoretical, applied or observed, when it comes to success, and not even success, but obtaining a result, the number one factor is honing your faculties, like solely on that, like not spreading your faculties too thin. And when I mean your faculties, I mean like your commitment. And this is, this sounds cheesy, but really, listen to what I'm saying here. Okay, like dive deep. Can't have it all. And society kind of sells you about this thing like work-life balance, and that's a real thing. You need a work-life balance, but they really push it to where they make you feel like it's necessary. When we were cavemen, there was no work-life balance. Really, work-life balance is a rather new concept in itself. Really, it was just like your life was work balance, basically, up until recently. So you got to pick one. You can't have it all. And what happens is when you hone in on that, your faculties, they're not divided. So you can put out a certain amount of effort and thought and quality into whatever you're trying to do, and you will move along that road much quicker with much less time for you to get discouraged. And this is not like saying like obsess over something, like obsessive behavior. That's not what I'm saying. Like it's still gonna take time. Yeah, the willpower, all that stuff, the charisma, the being smart, working smarter, not harder. Like that's all gonna. Yeah, that shit does help. Obviously, we know that though. Like I think everyone should know taking action is required and stuff like that. Good planning is required. Knowledge, having a strong environment that supports you, that's required for reaching your results. I'm saying is you have to be willing to give, and like let me even be more specific. You have to be willing to give something up. You have to be able to be willing to pick something over another thing. You can have a balance, but your priorities has to be ranked about what you will and won't give up. And once you have that set, you can decide how much time you can put, because time, the whole concept of time and how it relates to us is by nature it is a sacrifice. Time is something we have no control of, but complete possession of. We can do anything we want with time, but we don't have any control over it. But we possess it. So by nature, every usage of time is a sacrifice. And that, in turn, by default, makes everything we do choosing over something else. Because we only have a limited amount of time. It's a limited resource. So each time we allocate it somewhere, it's not being allocated somewhere else. So even if you possess all these things you want to do, you're in reality picking whatever you put your time towards. And this has huge ramifications in terms of compliance and investment and human psychology. Like you'll actually start to rationalize what you put your time towards. A lot of people think what you rationalize is what you put your time towards. No, whatever you're already doing is what you're going to put more of your time towards, and your emotions. Your emotions will actually follow where your time is going, because it's a limited resource, and your body innately knows that. Your inner biology, psychology, whatever, your genes know that. and we're trying to reduce expenditure of time and energy at all costs, always. It's the base root of all our actions, you know, to reproduce, survive, and do it in a way that's the most efficient. Um, so how do you decide? Even in that itself, how much time do you spend trying to figure out what you want? And when you want to figure out what you want, it takes time. And it's a gamble. You know, you really think about it. Do you really think about it for long periods of time? Or do you just roll and get the going? You know, figure it out on the way. I think, personally, like, you should have a limit for how much time you spend trying to think about something, but if you can figure it out and it's nuanced, but you're willing to take the hits, you're willing to go through the mental struggle, or just really the mental backflips that you're supposed to do, or that you have to do in order to achieve your goal, or at least realize it, then you can most definitely get there. You can get down the steps, and then you could just catalyze all those things if you have a very clear goal that you want. And since your faculties aren't necessarily divided, but they're still focused on the goal, you can actually spread them in the slots where you focus on this, and then on that, and on this. And the only hard part is learning how to transition at that point. It's transitioning seamlessly without a wastage of expenditure. And that is a multifaceted purpose. And I don't think anyone talks about that. I don't even know if that's like a real concept. I might be the first person to bring it up. Like, and if I'm not, I'm sorry for anyone else that has, and I would love to read your stuff. But a multifaceted purpose is where you can spread your faculties, but that's not the point of it. It's spread in a kind of Swiss Army knife way to achieve your purpose. It's flexible, and I'm not the first person to bring that up, but you know, a flexible way to use your faculties that all contributes to one thing, as opposed to just hammering it down. You're like a rope tying it, like a rope exerting energy through usage of its own length and flexibility. And that's one way to go about it. You know, you could be multifaceted like that. The pros and cons of that is, you could probably do more. It's tougher, that's for sure. And the key here is not like, it's not as simple. Transitioning, if you lose one piece of expenditure of energy transitioning from one thing, it affects the rest of the thing. The more complex the system, the harder it is to maintain. Whereas a simple, single-faceted faculty towards a purpose, like a simple one, the only thing you gotta do is just hit it hard enough, the intensity. Whereas the multifaceted purpose, the intensity itself is in the consistency, is in the renewal. If you have a renewal system, like a self-renewing system, as long as you're consistent and consistent and just not too inefficient, that itself equals the intensity. Your flexibility is the intensity. And then you sprinkle any bit of intensity in there that you can maintain, it's like 10 times fold. And then this is not doable for everybody. I'm just like, this is just the alternative. Some people, you really just need to focus on like simple purpose, and like that you can focus all your faculties in. And I'm not saying like it's one's better than the other. Like, all I'm saying is, like, you could do a lot. There are some real pros to the single faculty focus, like, purpose. When you focus on one thing and you do it right and you have the consistency and you're not wasting any expenditure and somehow you can remove all distractions, you'll get further than anybody. Like if that's really what you want and you really have no care for balance, you can reach heights not typically seen by human eyes. And I'm not exaggerating. If you want it, you can have that shit. So really, before you set a goal, set the goal, but shit, before you start talking about, I don't know, how much hard work's gonna take, fucking, how smart you have to be, what knowledge you need to learn, what connections you need to make, how charismatic you need to be, how likable, you need to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up? How much time are you willing to give up, and what it is you really want? And that's the number one determinant of success. It's what you want to be successful at in itself and how much you really want it. Not even how much you really want it, but how much you're willing to give for it. And if you're willing to give something up, I would hope that you want it. And that's the number one determinant of whether you'll get it or not from Jump Street. It's the very fabric that sets the whole play to play out. And on that note, I'm gonna go work on my faculties right now. It's been fun. Catch you later.